It's time for the Financial Crisis Talk Center with Ken Gross and David Einstandig from Thav Gross.
Credit card debt is number one. I view it as financial cancer.
40% of your gross income is going to just pay the debt service. You got no chance of getting out.
I would give up my credit score to get rid of debt.
Here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome back to the Financial Crisis Talk Center. This is going to be a segment that we're going to talk about a case study, and it's going to be Brenda and Rick post-holiday. What do? They've got some tax issues. They've got some credit card issues. They're looking for advice on what to do. Brian Small's with us, back in the studio after a short break in the restroom. Jenny Wingle still with us. You here, Jenny?
Yeah, I'm
have
still
some
here.
tax issues
I'm
for
not
you.
Drinking a 44-ounce Slurpee
Brian's
every morning.
Still knocking down that Diet Coke a lot.
Yep.
Or Coke Zero or whatever
Diet
it is.
Coke.
All right, we do our quotes first. I got two quotes for you this morning. You guys got to guess who it is. You ready for the first one? If it was not for the banks, we'd all have money.
Benjamin Franklin.
Jenny,
I have no idea.
do you want to take another clue?
Sounds like Brian.
Do you want me to give you some hints?
Sure.
Very intelligent person made this statement. Someone that both of you know well.
Are you talking about yourself,
You
Ken?
see every day. Yes, that was me.
I thought it sounded like Brian.
I couldn't resist. I know that kind of like popped my bubble right there.
Sorry.
Kind of like, I was really proud of that quote until it's now gone forever. It goes back to the short on ears and long on mouth. Can't read my own writing. All right, here's the next quote. You can guess who this one is. Now you don't know whether it's me or not. I don't know the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everybody.
It's not fair. I actually know this quote.
Who?
I'm not. I'll tell you after Jenny takes a guess.
You didn't peek at my paper.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't. I have no idea.
I'm not
don't
good
know
on quotes either like that.
It's
Who?
Bill Cosby.
Very good.
I read his book.
Oh.
I read a number of his books.
Oh, that was good.
I got one for you.
Sure.
It is well enough that the people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning.
Ben Franklin.
Mm-mm.
Thomas Jefferson.
Mm-mm.
George Washington.
Mm-mm. I give you a hint. The Model T.
Oh, Henry Ford.
Yep.
Okay. That's a good one. Okay, that's fine. You got your chance to do quotes now, and we're even. If it's not for the banks, we'd all have money. Brian Small, that's what you think, okay? All right. Brenda and Rick, post-holiday, here's where they're at. They have combined income of $120,000, so they've got solid income. Credit card debt, big number. They overspent on the holidays, $60,000. Kids had a wonderful Christmas.
I was going to say, could they adopt me?
Back taxes, 2012, $25,000. Brenda and Rick were self-employed, so they ran into trouble back on taxes when things got bad. So they still owe $25,000 from last year, and they have a lingering tax debt of $10,000 from 2008. They have a house, fair market value, $250,000. First mortgage, $260,000. The payment, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance is $2,000 a month. Second mortgage, $50,000. The payment on that is $650 a month. So they've got some. Brenda and whatever their name, Brenda and Rick are a normal couple family in terms of house, income. Their tax debt's on the high side. Their credit card debt is above average, but it's not anything that we don't see on a regular basis. Here's their basic budget and the way it plays out. Gross income is $10,000 a month. That's $120 a year. Taxes run about $2,500 a month between Fed and state, Social Security, la-di-da-di-da. $7,500 a month is their net income. That's what they have to spend. First mortgage is $2,000. Second mortgage is $650. Credit cards, $1,500 a month. That's 2.5% on the $60,000 of credit card debt. Car number one, $400. Car number two, $400. Car insurance and fuel, $700 a month. Utilities, $400 a month. Cell phone and cable, $250 a month. Food, $1,000. Life insurance, $400. Miscellaneous expenses, $1,000. Their total expenses are running $8,700 a month. They are $1,200 a month in the red, which explains why the credit card debt is up to $60,000. Here's my major questions for my gurus, Brian Small and Jenny Lingle. What can Brenda and Rick do? Bankruptcy, Brian? Is this an option? And then, Jenny, what about this tax debt?
Well, I would tell you that on the face of it, if you look at a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, initially for Brenda and Rick, when you get rid of the things that we can remove, the credit card expense, which would become enveloped as part of a Chapter 13, the second mortgage, which we can lien strip, so there's $2,150 worth of expenses, I believe, on paper that using...
Yeah, you got the $1,500 in the credit card debt, and you got the $650 second mortgage. But you're jumping a little bit fast because you're going on the assumption that someone who's listening or watching this show has seen it before and is familiar with bankruptcy and lien. What is lien stripping?
Right,
Is this
so
a form of paint removal?
Because of the income that Brenda and Rick have, if they look at a bankruptcy, they're going to qualify for Chapter 13 reorganization.
So they're not going to, as opposed to what?
As opposed to a Chapter 7 debt elimination.
Which would be just wipe out the credit card debt?
And get a fresh start.
And wipe out the mortgage debt? Does
Well,
that
you
mean
can-
if you
you
wipe
can-
out the mortgage debt, you don't have to pay for the house?
When you file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy on a mortgage, you eliminate your personal responsibility to pay the underlying debt. However, if you wish to keep the home, you're going to have to continue to pay for the mortgage.
Why?
Because the lien on the house allows the lenders to still foreclose the loan if you choose not to pay it.
So they can take the house away from you through foreclosure.
Absolutely.
But they can't make you pay for any shortfall.
No, they cannot.
Okay.
So, assuming Brenda and Rick want to keep their home, and since it's the value of the home is less than what they owe on their first mortgage, lien stripping or lien removal of the second mortgage is an available opportunity in
That's
Chapter 13 for them.
But let's finish up Chapter 7. You're saying Chapter 7, they could get rid of the debt and they could get rid of the obligation. They'd still have to pay the mortgage. The second lien would still be there. But they don't qualify because their income's too high, right?
That's what it appears to be.
As
yes.
far as Chapter 7. All right, so when we're going to come back from the break, we're going to pick it up with Chapter 13, and then you got to explain to me what this lien stripping stuff's about. I don't understand.
I couldn't get out of the car. I couldn't run or exercise. I couldn't work.
Dr. Lewis Radin believes that pain shouldn't have to wait. His Spine Specialist of Michigan is a comprehensive center dedicated to helping you manage pain now. Expect the latest techniques and personalized care. Why suffer another minute?
He's the best. I tell people that he's the one that saved my life.
Make your appointment with Dr. Radin. Call 248-792-9496.
Are you struggling to pay your mortgage? Afraid of foreclosure and the financial mess it can cause? Time is not on your side. Call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist. For years, Alan has been helping distressed homeowners navigate through the short sale process. His experience will get you out of your home without the credit score damage that follows foreclosure. If you want a fresh start, you need to call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist, 248-854-3829 or MetroDetroitShortSale.com.
No one ever thinks that a serious injury can happen to them, but it can and it does. And it can happen to you. And when it does, you need a fighter in that courtroom for you. Call me, Ben Johnson. Automobile accident, police misconduct, medical malpractice, product liability. You know what you're up against, how hard it is to get answers. When all you want is justice, call me, Ben Johnson. Whatever your legal crisis, I will fight for you. Call me today.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
All right, welcome back. I'm with Brian Small, Jenny Wingo from Thav Gross, and we're working through Brenda and Rick's financial issues from the standpoint of where they stand on their budget. To summarize, their expenses exceed their income by $1,200 a month, but they have $1,500 a month they're paying in credit card debt and a $650 a month payment they're making on a second mortgage, and the house is underwater such that the fair market value of the home is less than the balance on their first mortgage. When we came to the break, Brian, you were walking us through bankruptcy. We ruled out Chapter 7 because their income is too high. So then the next question is, what would Chapter 13 do? And you mentioned this idea of lien stripping the second mortgage. I need you to explain what you mean by that.
Okay.
And why would you want to do that?
If you've got a second mortgage on your home, and the balance that you owe on the first mortgage exceeds the value of the home, lien stripping into Chapter 13 is an available opportunity.
Which is to do what?
Lien stripping means to remove the second mortgage as a second mortgage and treat it as if it were a general unsecured debt.
So you strip the lien, you make it go away.
Yes, and effectively it gets treated like the credit card debt, hospital bills, those types of debts that you might owe that are not associated with any sort of collateral.
So it becomes an unsecured debt.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is different from the way the Chapter 13 would treat the 2012 income taxes that were owed of $25,000.
All right, let's talk about the taxes for a second. Where do we stand on that? We're in a Chapter 13. We have 2008 taxes of $10,000 and 2012 taxes of $25,000. In a Chapter 13, are they treated the same?
They are not treated the same, assuming
tax returns were filed on time, no fraud, nothing wrong.
Right.
Because the old taxes can be dischargeable in a Chapter 7. How does that work in a Chapter 13?
Same concept. They become treated like a general unsecured creditor. So to the extent that the general unsecured creditors are going to receive any dividend under in the bankruptcy in and of itself, the 2008 taxes would share pro rata with the credit card debt and the stripped second mortgage.
Okay, good. Now, what about the 2012 taxes? Do they get a priority or treatment?
They are actually called a priority tax. A tax which has come due less than 3 years ago. Doesn't matter when it was filed, as long as because it's going to have come due for 3 years or less, is going to be deemed to be a priority tax. That means that in a Chapter 13, unless the taxing authority agrees to treatment otherwise, it has to be paid back in full over the life of the Chapter 13.
Does it get paid back ahead of the other unsecured creditors?
It actually gets paid back ahead, yes, to the detriment of the general unsecured creditors.
Okay, so this is good. This is like from Dave with the budget.
Remember, the bankruptcy code is federal law, and the IRS is a federal agency. Go figure that the government wants to get paid back in full.
All right, so picture this chart. I've created a chart. If you were watching the show, you'll see the chart on the screen. And all I've done is I've X'd out the things. I forgot about the taxes for now, and I've just done a chart showing the impact of getting rid of the second mortgage and getting rid of the credit card debt. So we've X'd out the $650 second mortgage, the credit card debt. Now their budget, instead of being negative $1,200 a month, is positive $950 a month. Now let's assume that $950 then becomes the amount that's available to pay the creditors over the 60 months of the Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Is that a fair assumption?
It's a correct assumption.
Right, now, out of that, and that $950 times 60 is actually $57,000.
Right.
Out of that money, you have to pay the cost of administering the Chapter 13 between trustee fees, attorney fees, and everything else, right?
Correct.
What does that run about?
Of
Give me broad stroke numbers.
6% trustee fee.
Okay.
And we'll call it, let's just say $7,000, $6,000 to $7,000 over 5 years in attorney fees.
All right, so you got so let's just say for simplicity's sake, you have $11,000 of administrative costs between legal fees and trustee fees. So now you have 46.
Which is beautiful because your $950. Let's just point something out. Everybody's sitting and go, "Oh my God, I got these administrative fees." If the administrative fees were zero,
more money would go to the creditors.
More money would go to the creditors. The client still has the same responsibility for 60 months. As I like to say to a client when they say, "Your fees are what?" I say, "Listen, if you have to pay $950 a month for 60 months,
it doesn't matter.
And my fee is $1 million. All you're paying is $950 a month for 60 months.
So really, bottom line is, would you rather have the money going to you or the credit card companies?
And if my fee is zero, you're still paying $950 for 60 months.
All right, so in this case, then, the tax liability from 2012 would be paid off first.
Absolutely.
And it would be paid in full. And then the excess that was available would then be shared by the creditors.
Right.
Now, when you go through this budget, if the budget panned out and it didn't have us with $950 extra a month, and that number was down to more like $600, then the impact, if I'm understanding you correctly, would be we'd still cover the administrative costs, we'd still cover the 2012 taxes,
and the unsecured creditors would get nothing,
which would include the IRS relative to the 2008 debt, because that would be a dischargeable debt.
Right, and I don't think there's anybody out there that feels that is going to feel real bad if the IRS doesn't get paid.
All right, so that's a that's a.
Did I just sign myself up to get audited?
No, but that's clearly a positive outcome from the standpoint of the way to play.
And you know, Ken, one of the things that we have an opportunity to do within the parameters is to plan these Chapter 13s. We don't have to jump in to the pool without dipping our toe in. So
well,
we can reduce that $950 down to maybe $600.
Yeah, you massage the numbers like
creativity.
Maybe. So, well, we're going to take a break. We come back. I want to kind of talk about what kind of planning goes into a case like this before you're ready to file the case. We'll take the break, and then we'll be back, and we're going to explore further how you make the plan work to your benefit. We'll be back.
You like your job. What you don't like is the way your boss has been treating you. He's making comments about how you look instead of your work, and he's been touching you inappropriately. If you complain, is he allowed to fire you? Absolutely not. Unwelcome sexual comments, advances, and contact are illegal in the workplace. Make him pay. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Do you have tax problems, unfiled returns? Facing levies on wages in your property? You need an expert, not a cartoon character or salesman. Thav Gross is your solution.
You need to look at the big picture. That's what we do. We develop a plan that's right for you. I had major tax problems. I didn't know what to do.
You need to address the problem now. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Double Action, shooting center and gun shop for the largest selection of guns, accessories, and ammunition. Double Action is your only pro gun shop. And now you can train with the best in our basic CCW course with the most comprehensive curriculum, the best resources, and most accomplished staff. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. Double Action is the only place to get your CCW or renewal. Double Action. We're on DeQuinder and Madison Heights.
No one ever thinks that a serious injury can happen to them, but it can, and it does. And it can happen to you. And when it does, you need a fighter in that courtroom for you. Call me, Ben Johnson. Automobile accident, police misconduct, medical malpractice, product liability. You know what you're up against, how hard it is to get answers. When all you want is justice, call me, Ben Johnson. Whatever your legal crisis, I will fight for you. Call me today.
All right, welcome back. All right, so we're going through Brenda and Rick, and Brian, when we came to the break, I was going to say I want to go through some planning issues, but I want to step back. Suppose, take these facts, Jenny, and I went to you first rather than Brian. We talked bankruptcy. You got Brenda and Rick. They're making $120,000 a year, but they're underwater in their expenses between their credit cards and their second mortgage, and they've got a $25,000 tax liability from 2012, a $10,000 tax liability from 2008. What would you say to them if they came into you as a tax client and they weren't thinking bankruptcy? They made an appointment for you because they know you're a tax expert. They said, what do we do about this?
That happens all the time. A lot of people come in and they say, we want to deal with our taxes first. We know the IRS is breathing down our necks. So the first thing is I would have developed basically the same chart that you just did here, Ken, but then I would take a look at it because the IRS has what they call national standards. There's certain things that they cap: your food and your clothing, your mortgage and utilities and property taxes, car payments. They don't allow credit card payments. So when I looked at this, I would say, okay, between your first and second mortgage and your utilities, you're paying about $1,000 more than the IRS is going to allow. I would take out and say, okay, they're not going to allow the $1,500 on credit cards. Your car insurance and fuel is higher than they would allow. And basically, I would come up with a very large payment that they could make on an ability to pay. So they wouldn't qualify for a settlement, which is what most people ask. It's called the offer and compromise, where you settle for less. So I would say, okay, no to that. Then I would say, you know what, that payment is very high. I would say you do qualify for a 72-month streamlined agreement because you owe less than $50,000. However, at that point, that's when I buzz 233, which is Brian's extension, and I say, you know what, I would be making the analysis that it appears you can lien strip. We can probably pay back the taxes and maybe not a substantial chunk of the credit card debt.
And maybe discharge a portion of the 2008
Of the 2008, and I would say, that might be a better result for you, which is why I tell people that it's very important when you go to resolve one problem, you have to have someone who can look at all of your financial issues to come up with the best solution.
So that's a big one, more so important than just in our analysis of sitting here in the case study and saying, I should have had Jenny talk first. Think about in reality. You don't know if you're watching or listening what's best for you. You know you have a tax problem. They're breathing down your back. You go to talk to the tax expert. The tax expert needs to be able to identify whether a different outcome is a better result. If you call 1-800-TAX RELIEF, they're going to charge you $8,000 to put you into a streamlined settlement payment of an $800 a month payment that you can't afford, where the real thing that you need to do, if you're really seeing a tax expert that knows what you need to do, is you need to have a bankruptcy in this case. I forgot to do our sponsors, by the way. Remind people the Analyzer is on our website now. You go to fctalkcenter.com, click on the Analyzer. You get a free analysis of your debt situation. Seminar coming up, 2014, The Road to Success, Wednesday, January 15th, 7 to 8:30 p.m. at our offices. A broad range of topics. It's a planning seminar. The goal is to have money to retire with. How we get there depends on your circumstances. Medicaid planning, retirement planning, getting rid of credit card debt, dealing with property underwater. It's a planning seminar. It's a workshop. Different perspective than in the middle of the quote-unquote financial crisis. You want to sign up for it? Go to thavgross.com or fctalkcenter.com. Thank our sponsors, Ven Johnson Law, Gold Star Law, Samasco Law, Double Action Shooting Range and Gun Shop, Spine Specialists of Michigan, Elite REO Services, Alan Stalter, Short Sale Specialist, Cardiology Associates of Michigan, which is coming on board, Johnny Pomodoros, and Detroit Popcorn. We still got a couple minutes left, Brian. Now I want to shift back to you. Brenda and Rick, they're in the office. We've done the first massaging of the budget, and we see that we've got this $750 extra per month.
$950 according to your math, but
$950. Imagine I just found $200. So I got $950 a month. My analysis looking at this says we're going to pay off the taxes. We're going to pay off the all the taxes are gone, but there's still going to be a lot of money going to the credit card companies, which is something that I know you and I don't particularly like to see happen.
I think the word hate is a really good one.
No, not with me. Hate's a very strong word. When my kids were children and they would say the word hate, I would always say to them, no, hate is a very strong word. Use it very selectively. Detest would be okay when it comes to the credit card companies, but I don't hate them.
Let me just tell you how complicated this situation really is, rather than telling you how easy it is. In this case, with Rick and Brenda, if I have my paintbrush and I get to paint my Van Gogh, I'm going to utilize an installment payment agreement for probably 12 months, getting the IRS.
I just have to say something. You picked a perfect analogy with Van Gogh because I think the quote of the day was short on ears and long on mouth. So, go ahead.
I'm going to have Jenny put the client into an installment payment agreement to deal with the IRS taxes. I'm going to take them and have them start contributing to their IRAs and their 401ks if they have them available, because you said to me that their net income.
So you're going to use up some of that extra.
I'm going to use up some
$950?
because those are allowable expenses. I'm going to look at whether or not they need to get into new cars. I'm going to look at whether or not there are life insurance and health insurance benefits.
So can we just do this 30 days earlier and then file the bankruptcy? We're in a hurry. We're going to get this thing resolved. I got to get moving, man. I got to get on with my life.
Bad faith. You can't find God. You can't find your IRA and your 401k 5 minutes before you file Chapter 13.
How long? So what's the time frame? Is there a rule?
There's no rule. It's just an issue of good faith. So if I have a year,
6 months.
If I have 6 months to a year, I can do a lot of things for Rick and Brenda to protect their future and reduce the dividend to the unsecured creditors legally.
And now think about it. If we were doing this also and we knew this was the plan, we'd also say, let's stop paying the credit card companies while we're in the middle of it.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to maybe put a little maybe the goal is just to put some cash in the bank so Brenda and Rick have some money for a rainy day fund.
You can have cash in the bank and file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy?
You can have a lot of cash in the bank. Come see me. I'll talk to you about it.
So the bottom line there is planning. Brenda and Rick's situation is right for a Chapter 13, but on these numbers, it's too right. We can make it better so that they preserve more for themselves and less goes to their unsecured creditors. Thanks for listening. Drive safe. Stay warm. We'll be back next week with the Financial Crisis Talk Center.